The cardboard box slipped from Daniel Carter's trembling hands and crashed onto the polished marble floor, spilling a framed picture, a worn lunch container, and a small blue toy car in front of the entire office. For a moment, nobody moved. Daniel stood frozen, his eyes lowered as laughter and whispers surrounded him. Only minutes earlier, he had been an employee trying desperately to keep his job. Now, the woman who had fired him was standing proudly in front of everyone, unaware that the decision she had just made would soon change her own life. If you believe everyone deserves kindness, dignity, and a second chance, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to Echoes of Kindness. Your support helps us bring more stories of compassion and unexpected second chances. Daniel had never imagined his life would become so difficult. 3 years earlier, he had lost his wife, Emily, after a sudden illness, leaving him alone to raise their 7-year-old son, Noah. Daniel worked long hours at a large corporate company, taking every extra shift he could find because Noah depended entirely on him. He rarely complained, even when he arrived exhausted after spending nights caring for his son when the boy was sick. His old apartment was small, his car was unreliable, and there were days when he quietly skipped dinner so Noah could have enough food. Still, Daniel believed that honest work could eventually rebuild their lives. Things became harder when Daniel's old car broke down permanently. Without enough money for repairs, he began taking 2 buses to work each morning. One rainy Monday, he arrived nearly 20 minutes late after a bus had broken down on the highway. His supervisor, Victoria Hayes, was already waiting. Victoria had recently been promoted to department manager, and she had little patience for employees she considered weak or inconvenient. She didn't care that Daniel had worked there for years or that his performance record had always been strong. She only saw an exhausted man in an inexpensive shirt who had arrived late. In front of the entire department, Victoria accused Daniel of being unreliable and embarrassing the company. Daniel tried to explain that he had been doing everything possible, but she cut him off. Then she told him he was fired. The office became painfully silent as Daniel stood there holding the cardboard box Victoria had ordered him to pack. His greatest fear wasn't losing his pride. It was Noah. He knew there was barely enough money in his account to pay the rent, and his son's school fees were due the following week. Daniel swallowed his tears, picked up the box, and began walking toward the elevator. What nobody knew was that Daniel had received a call that morning from his son's teacher. Noah had been asking why his father looked tired all the time. The boy had secretly drawn a picture of their family and written underneath it, "Daddy always keeps going." Daniel had placed that picture inside his box because it reminded him why he couldn't give up. As he reached the lobby, he looked down at the little blue toy car Noah had given him and whispered a prayer for another chance. Then the elevator doors opened. Everyone turned as Michael Bennett, the company's billionaire CEO, stepped into the lobby. Michael was known for being private and rarely visited the department without notice. He immediately noticed Daniel standing beside the elevator with a cardboard box. His expression changed when he saw the framed photograph inside it. Daniel's face was filled with embarrassment, but Michael's eyes became serious. Michael had been reviewing employee records that morning because he was searching for someone to lead a new community outreach division. One employee's name had repeatedly appeared in reports praising his honesty, reliability, and willingness to help others even when nobody was watching. That employee was Daniel Carter. Michael walked toward him and asked what had happened. Before Daniel could answer, Victoria quickly explained that Daniel had been dismissed for poor attendance and lack of commitment. But Michael already knew the attendance record. He had personally reviewed it. Daniel had almost no unexcused absences in 3 years. The few late arrivals had been connected to documented emergencies, including caring for his sick child. The lobby went silent. Michael then revealed something Victoria never expected. He had recently reviewed security footage from the office because someone had been stealing expensive company equipment. In the footage, Daniel had discovered the theft and protected the company from a major loss without taking credit. Instead of reporting himself as a hero, he had quietly submitted the evidence to management. Michael had been trying to personally thank him. Victoria's confidence disappeared. Michael told Daniel that his termination was cancelled immediately. But he didn't stop there. He offered Daniel a promotion to oversee the company's new employee support and community program, a position with a salary nearly twice his previous one. He also arranged emergency financial assistance for Daniel's family and promised that Noah's education would be supported through the company's scholarship program. Daniel struggled to hold back his tears. He didn't celebrate loudly. He simply looked at the toy car in his box and smiled through wet eyes, thinking about the little boy waiting at home. Michael then turned toward Victoria. He didn't humiliate her or shout. Instead, he told her that leadership was never about having the power to fire someone. Real leadership was about understanding what a person was carrying before judging them. Victoria was removed from her managerial position and required to complete leadership and employee care training. Months later, she apologized to Daniel privately and admitted that she had judged him because of his clothes, exhaustion, and financial struggles. Daniel eventually became one of the company's most respected leaders. He used his new position to create emergency assistance programs for employees facing illness, homelessness, childcare problems, and financial hardship. He never forgot what it felt like to stand in an office holding a cardboard box while everyone watched. Whenever a struggling employee came to him, he remembered his own worst day and chose compassion before judgment. One evening, Daniel returned home and found Noah waiting at the door with the same little blue toy car. Daniel knelt down, hugged his son tightly, and finally told him that things were going to be okay. Noah smiled and asked if his father had won. Daniel kissed his forehead and said that sometimes winning wasn't about defeating someone else. Sometimes winning meant being given another chance when you thought your story was already over. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who believes in kindness, and subscribe to Echoes of Kindness. Your support can help these stories reach people who need a little hope. Before we end, comment "second chances" if you believe one act of compassion can completely change someone's life. Daniel walked into that office carrying a box because he thought he had lost everything. He walked out carrying something far more valuable than a job, hope, dignity, and a second chance. And sometimes, the person standing quietly at the edge of the room isn't weak at all. They may simply be waiting for someone brave enough to see their worth.